Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 16 of Torchbearers, the Valpo University Alumni Podcast. On today's episode, we're talking with alumna Elyse Smith, class of 2017, about her Valpo story. Stay tuned. Hello there, Valpo alumni, and welcome back to Torchbearers, the Valpo University Alumni Podcast. For those of you just joining in, welcome. My name is Michael Beaver, and I'm from the class of 2007, and I serve as your host for the podcast. I hope that everyone's having a great week. You know I just keep asking this question, so here we go. How is everyone doing? We really do want to know, so make sure to let us know. We love hearing from all of you. Our guest today is Elyse Smith, class of 2017. Elyse currently serves as weekend meteorologist for Storm Team 2. Now that is a tongue twister there. Storm Team 2 at WGRZ-TV out of Buffalo, New York. So Elyse, welcome to Torchbearers.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So Elyse, to get us started, tell us a little bit about your time at Valpo and your path after graduation.
My time at Valpo completely prepared me to enter my current field and the workforce. The skills you learn at Valpo, both in and out of the classroom, are meant to do that. But to answer the first part of the question, my time at Valpo was so rewarding, and I think that's the best way to put it. From the education I received and, of course, the fun times that you have and the friends you make. There are so many more ways to diversify yourself, too, at a small school, which is not something I expected going into college or when I had to go through, the narrowing down the field of what colleges I was interested in. I was more so interested, of course, in the major. I had to find a school that offered meteorology, but when I went to visit both Valpo and then some larger schools, I knew that my time at Valpo wouldn't be more than just a meteorology degree. I could be involved with whatever I wanted to be involved with, and we could make it work and make it happen. And that kind of helped me, lead to my path after graduation, I should say. My path after graduation was enlaced through my Valpo connections and my classmates. I had a job lined up before graduation, which is awesome. I worked hard in the classroom. I made valuable connections in the weather world as a student, which led me to great internships that helped me build a solid, positive reputation as a job applicant, which I think is super important. And that's not just something I can say within, the meteorology program. I have so many friends who were education majors and had jobs lined up before they graduated. So that's just something you can expect from a Valpo education, which, we all know that as Valpo alumni.
Right, exactly.
But what was so cool, the icing on the cake for me, was that the job that I had lined up was full-time weather, which is rare when you're just graduating from college. Typically, they have you do weather on the weekends, then you might be a reporter during the week, but I was able to get a full-time meteorology job at a TV station in the Midwest, and I'm from the Midwest, and I would be working with one of my friends who had graduated a year before me, Will Haney.
Okay.
So even within such, there's so many Valpo grads who go into TV.
Sure.
But to have someone that I was friends with at school and now I would be able to work with them was amazing. And he, helped me get my foot in the door for that job. So
absolutely.
It was just, real cool. And now he's in Grand Rapids and I'm in Buffalo, which aren't necessarily close, but we're still in the Great Lakes.
Sure.
Moving on with our career.
Great. So how did you talked a little bit about this before, but how did your experience at Valpo help prepare you for your current career?
Yeah, so I mentioned what I did, I think, and so here's the meat of it.
Sure.
The meteorology program at Valpo offers a curriculum that fulfills the requirements to get into several different jobs within what we call the weather world, from broadcast to grad school to the National Weather Service. you leave there with an undergraduate degree that has everything you need for a successful career, no matter where you want to go. You are a meteorologist. You don't have to go to any other schools to get the classes you need to get the job you want. So that, of course, was, super, what's the right word? It was super not intriguing. What's a good word? It was super
helpful.
It was super, I guess you could say it's a reason why I chose Valpo. It was because,
Sure.
That was a guarantee that I would leave as a meteorologist. I would get my 4-year education and be able to get the job I wanted, plain
Sure.
and simple, I guess you could say it like that.
Sure.
And I don't think that's, again, just to the meteorology program there. The professors design their programs for their students to be successful once they graduate, because they know what it's like to be a working member of the field they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So the professors set you up to succeed, which was something I felt even as a high school student when I went to visit. The professors were able to lay out a curriculum, whether, you were going into TV, National Weather Service or not, or grad school or whatever, and be like, well, you're going to take all the same classes as everyone. So
Sure.
that was really cool. But as far as extracurricular programs too, it was, being able to be in whatever clubs and organizations that I wanted to be in, and they all existed and you could all do that, was, something that you might not get when you go to a bigger school.
Absolutely.
There's, even though I was in the realm of science, as a degree, I was even more so involved with a lot of the arts at Valpo, from theater productions to Sigma Alpha Iota to dance ensemble to voodoo comedy. I did choir. I spent a lot of my time both in Cronky in the dance studio, then in the VUCA, and then in KCH. Those were my 3 buildings that I was in.
It seems to be very similar to a lot of meteorology, and the crossover there.
Which I think is so cool. Within the weather world, we have I feel like there are a lot of people who use both sides of their brains, the artistic side and then the more logical, critical thinking and scientific side. And I can say that I haven't met a lot of people in a lot of other realms of science that are the same way.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and I think it's too, because Valpo offers you that opportunity to do so. Yes, you can be involved with all of the meteorology clubs and organizations, but you can also fill your day too with, going to dance practice or going to choir rehearsal or whatever else.
Sure. Great. So
I remember I went back through my Instagram today and was scrolling through to be like, okay, how much stuff was I involved in? And I listed it. So I did dance ensemble, theater performances, choir, Sigma Alpha Iota. I was an admitted student overnight host my freshman year. I was involved in candlelight services, Vespers, dance marathon, Relay for Life, VUSIT, the student chapter of the American Meteorological Society, Voodoo Improv Comedy, VUTV, TEDx 2016, Meteorologic Met Field Day, which is when grade school students came and learned about weather, and then Songfest. And maybe more, I'm not sure. That's all I can remember.
Right. And what's fun is that's the typical Valpo student. Oh my gosh, so it is. Involved in everything.
I know. I remember I wrote up an article for the meteorology website, for the department website on Valpo. And I was like, if you were not, if you didn't have 2 jobs, was the president of one thing, but served on another board of another, had your hand in every aspect of Valpo, then you didn't have the Valpo experience. You were just going and doing all the time. But it was inspiring to do that because you had friends who were, had the same busy schedule, but were doing different things. So you could learn about so much at the same time outside of the classroom.
Right. So as you're thinking back on your time and, going back and starting and getting that first job, what is one thing that you wish you had known when you began your career that might have been totally off the wall or something crazy or what?
Yes, so I definitely had to think about this one. A phrase I learned at a leadership academy I got to be a part of post graduation was something that Dr. Marshall Shepard said, who is an esteemed professor and meteorologist within the weather community.
Okay.
He said, "Get comfortable with being uncomfortable." And that resonated so much with me. And that's a phrase I wish I had known when I graduated because, you just have to get experience. And that only comes with doing things and being a part of things in time.
Absolutely.
But what you might not know is that you're going to face a lot of moments early in your career where you're out of your comfort zone, but then you can rely on your training from Valpo to, help you get through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeling of being uncomfortable still allows you to learn. Like I'm still learning every single day, even though I'm
absolutely
not in a classroom taking notes or, preparing for an exam.
Mm-hmm.
But I think too, because of everything Valpo offers outside of the classroom, you already know that going into, once you go into the workforce as a quote unquote adult. So, I mean, I'm still pretty early in my career, but something I do wish I had known, and I'm definitely like a phrase kind of person. Those resonate
Mm-hmm.
with me and those are things I remember. So that phrase, when he said that, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, is something I go back on a lot right now in my life.
Awesome. So as you think back across everything, and it doesn't have to be Valpo people, it could be whoever, who are three people that have been the most influential to you?
Yes. So my mom, number one, always comes up.
Sure.
She's my rock. She's the one who introduced me to the job of a meteorologist, actually, when I
Okay.
was a kid. So we had a tornado siren in my backyard.
Gotcha.
Like it was next to my swing set. And when it would go off, I would want to know why. And typically, even as a kid, you can put two and two together. If there's a really bad storm, there's thunder, there's lightning, a tornado siren goes off, the action of going into your basement. But sometimes you don't exactly know why. And I wanted to know why so bad.
Sure.
Why do we have to go in the basement? And I kept bugging my mom about it, and she just turned on the Weather Channel one day, and she was like, and there was, of course, a tornado on. They were doing storm stories or something like that, and she was like, "This is why we go in the basement." And she thought it would like scare me into being like, "You go in the basement when you see this, that tornado siren goes off, because that means this is coming." And I wasn't scared. I was just so curious, and like it was fascinating for me. And so it did the exact opposite.
Okay.
But from there, she turned on like the local news channel and, pointed out who the meteorologist was. And she said, these people know when tornadoes are coming and they keep us safe. And I was like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. That's what I want to be. And from there, she, helped to guide me to, you have to be good at math and science. And, here are some universities that could be good for you. And she was the one who came with me to a Valpo student admitted visit and got to walk around campus with me. And then she also went with me for my other top school as well. I was between Valpo and another one. And I remember when we left Valpo, she could just read kind of how fulfilled I felt and comfortable. And she was like, she didn't pick for me at all, but she helped guide me to, what was the right choice, which was Valpo, and was very excited for me. And she's just been that guiding light throughout much of my life. And now as, an adult and in the workforce, just as she is, she's helped me a lot with, workplace relationships and problem solving and navigating things like that too. So if you talk about influence, she's, been so influential in my life, and of course in a positive way, which is super important.
Great.
Yep. But since Valpo is such a big part of who I am today, I have to say the Valpo Meteorology Department professors. I can't pick one. I know I'm going to be that person. But as a graduate, you want to make them proud. You want to make your professors proud because they put in so much work and effort to teach you the fundamentals of the atmosphere, which is not easy whatsoever. But, as a graduate, I want to make them proud to be like, that was my student. You know, I helped them get to where they are today.
Right.
So, and that's, of course, I feel like that's every department at Valpo, you know, and I think they also, you want to make your professors proud.
Sure.
And that just goes to show the caliber of professors you have at Valpo. And then finally, since, you know, I did only graduate in 2017, mentors have meant a lot to me. And that could be professors or even friends who I see, you know, doing a really cool project and want to learn more, or the Valpo, I would say the Valpo network. I have so many mentors who are also former Valpo grads. Ellen Baca, who's also in Grand Rapids, is one of them. And she helped lead me to an amazing internship in Birmingham with James Spann, which set, you know, a course for me about, you know, how to handle severe weather and communicate it and be a positive role model in your community. And then, you know, I was able to learn how to communicate severe weather, specifically tornadoes. And then 2 years into my career, I'm covering the Jefferson City tornado. And there have been so many instances where different mentors, from Valpo or not, I can find moments in my career where I learned something from them. And I might not realize it in the moment, but I was like, wow, I knew how to handle this, or I knew what to say because this person taught me that, or this person helped me get to where I am today. So those are kind of three big influential, of course, my mom, Valpo professors,
sure,
and mentors. You know, when I think about still very much a career-minded person, and that's what I'm focusing on right now. Those are people who I rely on, you know, a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Great. So if you could step into my shoes as the interviewer, what's one question, and then the answer, of course, that you'd want me to ask you?
I would want you to ask me what I miss about Valpo, because I think it's okay to miss something.
Sure.
Right? And there are so many quirks about Valpo that you can't find anywhere else. But, you know, it's important to not to live in the past and live in that Valpo experience, but use what you learned and what you had to, you know, move on and go into the future. So I guess, you know, one thing that I miss is, you know, the cookies that they make in the Union. Like, if there is a way you could ship me a box of Union cookies, that would be great, because I haven't been able to find a comparable one since.
And the funny thing is, I can remember that recipe from when I was a student here, so I totally understand what you're saying.
They're so good. And then, of course, all of the staff there, too, is amazing, too, and they're so kind. But, in all seriousness, one thing that I really miss was candlelight service.
Okay.
And Valpo is a Lutheran school, and I'm a Lutheran, but for me, the Sunday night candlelight service was something that I ended up looking forward to every single week. I would take a break from studying or do whatever I was doing, and would go to candlelight, you know, with some of my closest friends. And we would just take that time to be together as friends based in faith. And I feel like a lot of what Valpo does is rooted in that. No matter
Sure.
what faith base you are, there are resources and communities at Valpo for any faith. But I haven't been able to find, you know, a community like that since graduation, or a service like that. So candlelight is something that I do really miss.
Great. And then finally, to kind of round everything out, what does Valpo mean to you?
At the root of who I am today, Valpo is the reason I'm a meteorologist. I think that's a very cut and dry way of putting it. Mm-hmm. Valpo means to me joyful memories, excellence in education, lasting friendships. What's been instilled in me today from my time at Valpo is to be a servant leader, which is, okay, you know, faith-based. You could say that's faith-based, but to be able to lead and serve a community is something I have to do as the forecaster, as a meteorologist, wherever I am, whether I'm working in central Missouri or Buffalo, New York. It's my job to provide accurate forecasts for my community. But
Sure.
it's also important to be a role model and to, I do classroom visits within the community. They've been virtual, of course, recently.
Of course.
But, to help maybe educate or inspire the next group of, meteorologists from
Sure.
grade school, like how I was inspired by the weather. So that's something else Valpo taught me is, the importance of being a leader and serving your community if you're not a leader, but you're just doing your part to help everyone out.
Elyse, once again, thank you so much for being a guest with us here on Torchbearers. It was wonderful getting to talk with you, and I hope all of our alumni in the Buffalo area will tune in and listen to Elyse give the weather. If you're interested in being a guest on our podcast, make sure to let us know. Email us at alumni@valpo.edu. Again, that's alumni@valpo.edu. We look forward to hearing from all of you. And make sure to check out our Homecoming at Home events this year. Homecoming may be done virtually and maybe a little bit different, but hopefully we can bring a little bit of that sense of homecoming back to all of you. Visit valpo.edu/homecoming for more information. And for all of our alumni out there, stay well, stay healthy, stay safe, and go Valpo.